my God, I will vote. Arriba! I will vote Michael Penix.
You got Falcon DNA.
Welcome to the Falcons Bird Bath. It's your boy Simeon the C. Mitchell, aka Point Game Official. And if you like what we're doing over here at the channel, or you're just an angry Bucks fan who wants to tell me why I'm wrong, hit that like and subscribe button. Chop it up with us in the comments. Today's episode is brought to you by Falcon DNA. Let's hope, broken promises, and overall tough being a bad mother. Who's tired of everybody. Really feel like I'm manifesting Falcons gear or some type of sponsorship. Today I'm gonna hit you guys with a few revelations that I expect from training camp coming up in a few weeks. But first, let me tell you guys how you got me out here agreeing with RG3. It's not very many things that I agree with him on, but he recently said, and I quote, Michael Penix will be the breakout QB of the year in the NFL this year. Michael Penix will show off his elite arm talent, downfield throwing ability, and anticipation this year. His 3 starts last year showed he isn't afraid of the NFL pass rush. Penix led the NFL with 17.3 yards per completion when under pressure. Even Kirk Benkert is suggesting that Michael Penix could easily have 5,000 all-purpose yards in a season in the next 1 to 3 seasons. Everybody seems to be on board with the hype for Michael Penix this year as the next hot thing, except for pessimistic Falcons fans and hater Buck fans in the back of the room. And I get it. Being a Falcons fan coming from Falcon DNA, you're tired of everybody's crap. You believe that there's a curse. You believe that you've seen this same road before and all Falcons are gonna Falcon, snarf, snarf. Hey, I get it. But look at me here, man. There is no such thing as a curse in sports. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could actually win them a Super Bowl, because nobody expected them to win a Super Bowl when they won one back in 2002. I mean, for the longest, they couldn't get over the hump in the NFC Championship game, and they were kind of a joke organization for a little bit. No shots thrown at anybody intended, but I really don't care. But just being real, there's a point in time, and I'm a football connoisseur. I've been watching this game for a while. One of my favorite all-time defenses is that Buccaneers defense. We're building something nice here in Atlanta. It's okay to be on board with Michael Penix. A lot of people like to point at stats when they criticize Michael Penix and talk about his 1-2 record. Another stat that they like to also talk about is interceptions last year. 3 interceptions to 3 touchdowns. But when you look at some stats that really matter, his overall PFF grade is an 87.9. His passing grade, 87.6. Rushing grade, 51.3. I can live with that. His average depth of target, he's 5th in the league with 10.6 yards in the air before it even touches the receiver's hands. It's a very common thing that people talk about Michael Penix having a big arm. Not only his teammates, but players in the league who play against him, and also analysts. Far too many other good people who were smarter than you or I. They can't all be wrong when talking about Michael Penix. He's not afraid to go deep, and I think he's going to be able to utilize a lot of the speed that we have at receiver this year. A lot of people talk about how Drake London isn't a guy who gets a lot of separation, but I believe he will be getting separation. He's going to eat in the middle of the field because Ray McCloud, I know that's a guy that you guys don't expect me to have love for, but Ray McCloud is actually pretty good. He's got some speed, and we also got Mooney on the opposite side over there, and I believe that we're going to have one of the best wide receiving cores this year. We're going to have one of the top passing and rushing offenses this year because they're going to be able to utilize a lot of play action. The stat that I really love is the pressure to sack rate. He's 14th in the league, and on only 12.1% of his throws, he's taking a sack when he's under pressure. That's pretty good when you look at the rate for him just being a rookie. A lot of rookies would have had the deer in the headlights, and he actually did pretty well. I'm in full acknowledgement that they have to play this year, and they're going to have tape on Michael Penix, so we got to see what happens. They got to get through camp, and he's got to get through a full season. He's got to play the games. But I think it's a little bit impressive, and it's very much overlooked by some of his critics that Michael Penix thrust into a situation with the playoffs on the line, taking a starting quarterback on and saying, hey, go get him, champ. Go out there and make the playoffs for us. And he came in, made big-time throws, clutch throws, one of the most clutch throws of the year for the team. He went toe-to-toe with Jaden Daniels, and he went out and he executed. Even though he had zero chemistry with his receivers, he was not receiving most of the starting snaps all year. And that's really huge because he had no timing. That's a huge testament to him as a rookie, just being able to come in right in the moment. A lot of people overlook the fact that a lot of people questioned Raheem Morris last year for going and benching Kirk when they did and just thrusting the rookie into the fire at that point in time. They were wondering, would he be able to handle the pressure? They were saying that that's not fair to him. And he just rolled with the punches. All in all, Michael Penix did all that he needed to do to get us for the playoffs. And ultimately, you got to blame a defense who was terrible in open field tackles last year. Michael Penix, I believe, is my dark horse for making Offensive Player of the Year this year. If not possibly even MVP. It just depends on what the Falcons actually do. But I believe it's a very strong world where we could actually have Michael Penix Jr. or Bijan Robinson as the Offensive Player of the Year. Really depends on how the season pans out. But I could actually see a world where Michael Penix throws for maybe 4,500 and maybe even rushes for another 400 or 500 yards just on the humbug alone.
Because everybody that's drafted or picked up as undrafted free agent has the talent and athleticism to play in the NFL. I'm going to say it right now. Like, may not mean you're going to be the best, but you have the talent and athleticism to play in the NFL, special teams, and maybe some rotation, and possibly starter, all-pro, whatever level you of the spectrum you're on.
And moving on, I want to actually touch on a few things that I want to look closely at as the Falcons move on to camp next month. First and foremost, I believe that there's a strong possibility that we might not see anybody with more than 7, maybe 8 sacks on this team this year coming up. And that's not actually too bad, honestly. I could easily see a scenario where you have Leonard Floyd and maybe James Pierce Jr. having 7 sacks, maybe 8 sacks. Maybe Jalon Walker having about 5 or 6 sacks. Ebike's going to hit you with his normal 5 or 6 sacks that he does every year, probably. But we can also see players like Braylon Trice come along as well, too. I believe that Zach Harrison and Rukaroro are probably going to lead our defensive linemen among snaps this year. But I believe that Rukaroro could actually give us a good 4 to 5 sacks this season coming up. And that would be phenomenal for this team right now. I could also see a few other defensive linemen coming along and playing pretty strong or whatever. One guy that the Falcons have that's an undrafted free agent that nobody's talking about because everybody loves Kobe Bryant is Simeon Barrow. He's a guy as a defensive tackle who went undrafted, but if you look at what the Falcons paid him, 3-year, $2.995 million contract. And no, that's not phenomenal money, but that's a pretty decent number for a guy who's an undrafted free agent to get that length of a contract. It tells you what they're thinking about him right there. When I look at the tape on Simeon Barrow, he actually kind of jumps off screen pretty well. He's one of those guys, if you look at him, as they say, he has a high motor. Looks mean, he looks aggressive, he looks strong, he's quick, he's got good hands, and he gets to the quarterback. Versatile guy that they played all over the line. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, he's a little bit of a tweener. The biggest knock on Barrow is he's a bit undersized. And if you look at his draft combine report, that's what they talk about. He's a guy that they say is really good at reading and reacting, but he's also a guy that they say maybe get pushed around. He's a little bit undersized, and they say he has a little bit of a problem squeezing his gap, but actually could benefit from a gap control scheme. And if you look at the Falcons, that's exactly what they're trying to do this year. They're talking about playing fast, playing this attack-style defense. They want to be able to put their guys in one gap and be able to control and contain that gap. He's a guy who's very disruptive and uses his athleticism to cause havoc and just wreak havoc all up and down the line. And that's something that they're really going to value in this scheme playing this year. Probably definitely play a lot on some of our passing downs, especially with the NFL being as pass-heavy as it is. He's one of my dark horse candidates to get a lot more playing time. And I honestly think that the job of somebody like Taquan Graham could actually be in danger. One of his knocks on him is that he's a little bit of a step slow after the ball snaps, though, once he takes his initial step. They also say that he plays with too high of a pad level. These are things that I believe that Nate Ollie are going to be able to easily coach out of him. Another thing to look at closely is the emergence of Divine Deablo. I believe coming out of camp that Divine Deablo and Kaden Ellis are going to be a dynamic tandem together. The Falcons have already said that he's a likely candidate to wear the green dot this year. And those of you who don't know what the green dot is, he's the guy that has radio signal with the coaches and be able to communicate back to the press box and tell them what they're seeing on the field.
Obviously, I want to be a leader of this defense. I got to earn that spot, though. But I just want to do my job, and whatever they need, I'll do.
Last year, Kaden Ellis was that guy for us. This year, if Divine Deablo is that guy, that means I might have been actually a little bit overzealous in actually believing that Jalon Walker is going to be moved to inside linebacker on some of our passing downs and being moved all around as an off-ball linebacker in the way that I thought. In fact, according to the minicamp so far, Jalon Walker has worked exclusively only with the outside linebackers and edge defenders, meaning that Divine Deablo could be even more of an integral part because we need a guy who could actually be out there and be the disciplined linebacker. This actually frees up not only Jalon Walker, but Kaden Ellis. It allows Jalon Walker to be able to use his athleticism and just master being an edge guy before they can move him around. And that's probably something that won't happen until maybe mid-season. The way that we used Kaden Ellis last year, we moved him all around, moved him all over the ball, almost like Troy Polamalu at middle linebacker. He was our best middle linebacker, but ultimately, he's really an edge guy at heart, and his best thing is rushing the passer and being a run defender.
Still consider yourself an edge rusher at heart? I mean, you still, that's still your
I'll always consider myself at heart, always.
Yeah.
Kaden Ellis actually made Bill Barnwell's list of best specialized players in the league. It's the best blitzing linebacker that there is. He's a guy that they implement in the green dog strategy. This is terminology that's changed a lot over the years, but essentially it means that as a linebacker, if the running back stays in for pass production, you have a green light to go ahead and blitz. It's going to be huge for us having Divine Deablo because in case a running back actually does leak out of the backfield, we have a guy who can actually chase him down and having Divine Deablo allows us to use Kaden Ellis in that manner. That's where he excels at the most. And if you look at Divine Deablo, this increases a lot more the versatility on our defense.
What is it about your game that makes you different, though?
I say my height and my speed. I feel like I'm very tall, say 6'4", but and I'm really fast.
He allows us to mold in the best of what Nate Landman did and what Troy Anderson did last year. Both of those guys had a lot of injuries and they had trouble staying on the field, especially Troy Anderson. He's a guy who's very athletic and is pretty good, but in case he's not able to live up to anything, I believe that Divine Deablo is going to have a choke on that actual position. And if Troy Anderson isn't able to get physically on the field pretty soon, I don't think Divine Deablo is going to let it go. He's a guy that moved from being a strong safety to being a middle linebacker once he got into the league. And to be honest, if you like what Troy Anderson did out there on the field, you should definitely love what Divine Deablo can actually bring to the table because he is a better open field tackler. He didn't move from quarterback to linebacker. He just moved from safety down to middle linebacker. In a lot of our nickel situations, he's a guy that could actually stay on the field a lot more. Now, we know that Jeff Ulbrich loves speedy linebackers. He was really responsible for the development of Deion Jones in Atlanta, as well as Foye Oluokun. He was also able to get a lot out of Jamie Sherwood and turn him into a pretty good player last year as well, too. And we know in the Jet system last year, Bryce Huff was a guy that had 10 sacks. I could easily see us being able to utilize our speed rushers, and that's a guy that he actually compared Jalon Walker to. I believe he has a really great idea of how he wants to utilize those guys. When the Falcons hired Jeff Ulbrich, one of the things that he said was that he was going to mix in a lot of the old with a lot of new things that they hadn't seen here before. I believe that Ulbrich is actually taking the smart philosophy of matching your scheme to your personnel. Do what the guys that you have there are really good at doing. Utilize them to their strengths. A lot of people don't believe that defensive schemes matter, but they matter maybe even more than an offensive scheme does because whatever your philosophy is, you need to match that up with the guys that you have out there on the field. Some guys are not necessarily good at two-gapping, and they might be better at just running twist and being on the run, getting after the quarterback guys, just hand in the dirt, go, don't think about it type of guys. You don't want to run man coverage when guys are better at zone. You don't want to run zone when guys are better at man. You don't want to have linebackers doing things that they're not good at. Kaden Ellis actually talks about how Jeff Ulbrich, being a former linebacker, is not going to do weird things like having him dropping the pass coverage against Justin Jefferson in a one-on-one.
When you're game planning a team, sometimes the onus has to get put on a position group. And I think in my, very biased eyes, put the tough jobs in the linebackers a little bit. I can already tell Brick's going to look out for us and make sure that I don't have Justin Jefferson alone. You know what I mean? Those types of scenarios. So
he joked about it a little bit right there, but I mean, really, seriously, that happened last year. And I don't think we're going to have those type of blunders and mishaps this year. It all matters in how you put your system together to get the optimal results out of your players. I really believe that this defense is set up to be able to spy the quarterback a lot better and be able to make open field tackles. And it takes a concerted effort on all levels to be able to contain some of these really great athletes out here. And I think the Falcons have really done a great job of making sure that they at least paid attention to that and tried to shore it up after seeing what happened last year. Because allowing the Panthers to do what they did to us was just disrespectful.
At the end of the day, we got some holes in the defense that we need guys to step up. And we've got guys that have been here, that have been working, and I trust those guys 100%. And I see the work that different guys have put in to ascend. And I also see the guys they brought in, and I see why they were drafted when they were drafted, why they were brought in as free agents.
You just said they're going to play a lot of snaps, a lot of important snaps, and we're not just going to baby them into it. We got to, pick it up now. Before the train leaves. I have no doubt they'll have a lot of success this year.
I would say there's 4 to maybe 6 positions that are available especially if you're looking at the Falcons' official depth chart. They have 6 open positions right there right now. And I believe that some of the defensive line is definitely a toss-up. I believe Onyemata is going to be a guy who's going to start for us. And while I love Rukaroro and I love Harrison, there's no guarantee that those guys are going to be starters. Once they put the pads on, we're going to see what happens out there. I believe Divine Deablo has a really strong hold on that middle linebacker position. And they say that D. Alford is the actual nickelback right now, but I believe that Billy Bowman is going to be our nickelback moving forward. D. Alford is a guy who could potentially be cut during training camp, even though we just signed him. And I believe they like Clark Phillips a lot as well, too. Where I believe that it's going to be very interesting is the safety room. We know for certain that Jesse Bates is going to be the starting safety. But who's going to be next to him? I believe that Jordan Fuller is a very valuable piece. He's an experienced starter that we know is really good against the run. He's not so great as a pass defender, but he's not necessarily a complete liability. Last year, Justin Simmons, when we actually needed him to be able to step up and just be able to not be a liability, he missed a lot of open field tackles and kind of shied away from the contact at times. And that's why we didn't sign him again this year. He also kind of lost a step or two, but we needed him to be a guy who wasn't afraid to kind of get his helmet a little bit dirty, getting there on the contact. And I believe that that's where Jordan Fuller is going to be very handy this year, as well as DeMarco Hellams. These are 2 guys that I think add a lot of versatility to our secondary, and how we can utilize our nickel package is a lot different. They definitely love Xavier Watts from what we've heard them say so far, but there's a lot that they might be able to throw at him that he might not be 100% ready for. So he could be a guy who gets a lot of rotation, but maybe not be a day 1 starter.
Just to see how he operates, the way that he sees the game, and how we're installing and stuff, and it comes easy to him. But it has to translate to the field. We gotta teach X how to practice like a pro. He's already a pro mentally, but we just gotta continue to stay on him and just
He might maybe start more toward the middle of the season, but again, all of this is going to be contingent upon what they do in training camp. Another place that I think is really interesting and worth keeping an eye on is the Falcons tight end room. We know we have Kyle Pitts, and we know we got Charlie Warner as our blocking tight end with Pitts as the receiving tight end. But we also have the undrafted free agent that they think the world of in Joshua Simon. He's a guy that the Falcons were actually surprised went undrafted, and they signed him within a few hours of the NFL draft being over. He could potentially be a better run blocker than Kyle Pitts. If Kid Simon is good and able to run block at all, he could eat into both of those players' snaps. Now, one of the pre-draft reports on him that was a knock was that he was not built for the trenches and being able to run block. So that remains to be seen. But I think it's worth noting, we do have guys that we signed like Bubba Franks at tight end, and there's no guarantee for the 3rd or 4th tight end position, even if we're going to carry 4. So he's a guy that could actually add some versatility to our offense, and I think it's worth looking. All right, guys, that's our show for today. If you love what we're doing, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more news as the rest of the offseason moves on. I'll keep you guys posted on any moves as they make going into training camp this summer. Don't expect to see a whole lot before that, but who knows. C-Mo to C. Mitchell, Point Game official. Checking out, baby. Peace.